In the 1990s, Capcom was on fire. The company gave the world Street Fighter II and Mega Man X, and then Street Fighter II again, and then Final Fight, and then another Street Fighter II. It was like a franchise within a franchise. Whether it was arcades or on home consoles, Capcom had quality control, a blend of gameplay mastery, visual flair, and tight design. But some people seem to forget that Capcom also made great games for Disney. Before the company had its own game studios, Capcom built a reputation for taking Disney properties and making hits out of those as well. You got games like DuckTales, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, Tailspin, and Darkwing Duck on the NES were great games. A high contrast to everything LJN was throwing out. And yes, I know LJN was just a publishing company, but they still oversaw everything that was under their name. Making good games was not a part of their strategy. Anyway, Disney and Capcom brought their partnership to the 16-bit era, and in 1992 they delivered the Magical Quest starring Mickey Mouse, a platformer that embodied everything people loved about both companies. It was vibrant, imaginative, and full of heart. To me, the Magical Quest stands out as one of Super Nintendo's hidden gems, a short but fun adventure that captured the spirit of Disney's storytelling and Capcom's game design. The story begins with Mickey and his friends Goofy and Pluto playing catch in the park. Everything is cool until Goofy throws a fastball at Mickey. The ball bounces off his head and out of sight. Pluto chases after into another dimension or something because he just disappears. Goofy says that he'll find Pluto, and Mickey, knowing how Goofy is, decides to follow suit. But Mickey apparently has the eyesight of Mr. Magoo because he just runs to the edge of a cliff, can't stop his own momentum, and falls off. And this is where the game starts. This other world, filled with strange creatures and floating landscapes, is ruled by the evil Emperor Pete, a classic Disney villain who appears in countless forms throughout the game. Pete has captured Pluto, setting up a simple but understandable motivation for Mickey. He needs to rescue his dog. It's a pure storybook style adventure that feels pulled right out of a Disney classic short. Classic Disney short. I'm getting my script mixed up. It's timeless in its simplicity. That's why there's so many games with that same plot. Save the kidnapped princess, save your girlfriend, your son, your daughter, your mom, dad, friend, random person sometimes. There will never be a year where a game with this plot doesn't come out. On the surface, the Magical Quest may look like a traditional platformer, but it distinguishes itself with one concept, which is Mickey's costumes. Throughout the adventure, Mickey gains access to magical outfits that dramatically change how he interacts with the world. So let's break them down. The first one is the Sorcerer outfit. It is inspired by his Fantasia persona. It allows him to shoot bursts of magic energy which consume a recharging power meter. He also can charge these up, just like Mega Man would with his X-Buster. Next comes the Firefighter outfit, which equips Mickey with a water hose. It's both a weapon and a puzzle-solving tool sometimes. The hose can extinguish flames, push objects. It's a great design, makes us interact with our surroundings, and it keeps the stages fresh. The water mechanics feel surprisingly responsive, adding a tactical sense of power as players blast through hazards and enemies. Finally, there's the Mountain Climber outfit, complete with a grappling hook and rope. This outfit completely changes how players approach levels because it's all about verticality, climbing walls, swinging on ledges, and carefully timing grapples to cross gaps. Some of you might be hearing this and thinking that the costume sounds similar to another game. Well, that's because it is similar. It's pretty much Mega Man X Disney style. The costumes are permanent upgrades and you can change into them anytime you want. They have their own meter and both games are made by Capcom. So I'm willing to bet somebody in development brung up Mega Man at some point. Each costume introduces a new mechanic and each stage builds on that mechanic in creative ways. You're never overwhelmed. You learn naturally through play. Early levels teach the basics, while later stages remix and combine ideas to test your mastery. This makes the Magical Quest a game that feels constantly rewarding. Every level gives you something new to think about, whether it's using water to move platforms, swinging across cliffs, or timing magic blasts to defeat airborne enemies. There's a tangible rhythm to the gameplay, and it's never frustrating, at least to me. But it always keeps you engaged. Every stage in the magical quest feels distinct, not just visually, but thematically and mechanically. You start off in the cliffs and then make your way down into a lush forest. It's full of bright greens and rolling platforms. It's the perfect opening, welcoming and full of life. From there, Mickey journeys underground to a fiery cavern, then to a mountain range, scaling cliffs and battling wind gusts, icy peaks, and a big castle that tests all of his abilities. One of the most striking aspects is how cohesive everything feels. The level design complements Mickey's powers. For instance, when you get the firefighter outfit, the world is filled with flames, smoldering enemies, and platforms that are covered in fire that needs to be doused. When you're the climber, the world becomes vertical, filled with peaks and crevices that require mastery of momentum and timing. Capcom didn't just swap backdrops, they built entire gameplay identities around each costume. Even by Super Nintendo standards, the Magical Quest is visually stunning. The sprite work here is on par with some of the best Capcom has ever produced. Mickey's animations are fluid, his eyes dart when he climbs, his hat flutters as he jumps, and his idle poses overflow with personality. There's a sense of craftsmanship in every frame. Well, maybe not. Might be going a little being a little dramatic right there. But either way, the enemies have good design as well. They are wonderfully expressive. The backgrounds are rich with detailed texture, from glittering caves to spooky castles lit by torches. There's a sense of craftsmanship in every frame. Capcom's artist recreated Disney's world into a playable form without losing an ounce of its charm. The soundtrack, composed by Mari Yamaguchi, perfectly complements the game's fantasy tone. Yamaguchi, who also composed for Mega Man 5, had a knack for catchy, adventurous melodies. Each track captures the essence of its environment. The forest theme is lively and full of bounce. The mountain theme feels adventurous. And the Fire Grotto theme carries a sense of urgency and tension. Likewise, I feel that there's enough of each theme to not get repetitive, but I might be in the minority about that. Some people don't enjoy this soundtrack nearly as much as I do, and that's fine. Everybody has their own opinion, and my opinion is that I like the soundtrack. Overall, I think the music is pretty good. Not on par with something like Mega Man X, but definitely better than something like Mega Man X2. I'd probably throw Final Fight in there as well. One of the most interesting aspects of the Magical Quest is the difficulty balance. On one hand, it's clearly designed to be accessible for younger players. The controls are smooth, checkpoints are generous, and the pace is forgiving. It also has unlimited continues, so the only reason you don't beat the game is you're getting tired of it. It's made for kids, but it can still be a bit of a challenge to new players. For people that grew up on this type of game, you shouldn't have that much of a problem though. A few stages might catch you off guard, but you still should be able to finish this in one playthrough. Each boss fight in the Magical Quest brings its own flair. They aren't overly difficult, but they are imaginative, usually incorporating the costume that you most recently acquired. The snake boss will jump around, requiring precision jumps and quick reactions. And I can say the same thing about the spider, but fighting the spider with the magician costume is better.
Take it to the face! Take it to the face! Eat it! Eat it!
The fire platform boss tests your aim and timing with the firefighter outfit. The bird at the top of the peak is definitely one that you want to use the rock climber outfit for. You'll definitely lose without it.
There's no 404. Did you see it? Yo, how many people died off that the first time they played?
Ice Skating Pete requires timing to avoid his big body, and you really don't have a particular costume to use with that guy. And then the final showdown where Emperor Pete combines multiple phases, forcing you to switch tactics on the fly. These encounters are simple but satisfying, a reminder that creativity and personality often matter more than sheer difficulty. With all that being said, the Magical Quest wasn't just a masterpiece. It had its own flaws as well, which is why it's not remembered nearly as fondly as other Capcom titles. While the game was fun and lighthearted, it wouldn't have hurt to give it some more difficulty. As I said before, there's infinite continues and multiple checkpoints in each stage. A hard mode would have been appreciated. Mickey is also not in a hurry to get anywhere, except for the intro. Unless he's going down a slope, he will not run anywhere. Kind of reminds me of Ristar. The costumes could have been used more. The magician costume could have been used to light candles, activate switches, or defeat specific enemies that are immune to physical attacks, just as an example. The fighter outfit also could have been used to activate mechanisms, maybe even propel Mickey backward with water pressure for quick dodges. I admit that one also could be annoying, so maybe not. Just throwing out some ideas. Lastly, there's not much replay value here. I mean, once you beat the game, you may not feel the need to play it again. While I like this game, I think it's pretty valid when somebody says that it's too easy or there's not much to it. The Magical Quest was well received upon release, both critically and commercially. Its blend of accessibility, polish, and visual magic made it one of the standout family-friendly titles on the Super Nintendo. Capcom followed up with 2 sequels, The Great Circus Mystery starring Mickey and Minnie, which introduced co-op play, and The Magical Quest starring Mickey and Donald, originally a Japan exclusive that later made its way to the Game Boy Advance. I have no idea why a game like this would be a Japan exclusive. You know, the company is from America, and you would assume most of its fans would be in America, so make a Japan exclusive game that makes no... whatever, I'm not in charge. I played the second game, but not the third. It seems that the original remains the most iconic. It struck a good balance between simplicity and imagination, something that the sequels, while okay, they didn't quite replicate. In 2002, Capcom re-released the Magical Quest on the Game Boy Advance, bringing the game to a new audience. The port included minor adjustments for the handheld screen and added a save feature, but the charm and the magic remained intact. When people talk about the greatest Super Nintendo platformers, titles like Super Mario World, Donkey Kong Country, and Kirby Superstar dominate the conversation. The Magical Quest could have an honorable mention though. It may not be as revolutionary as Mario or visually groundbreaking as Donkey Kong, but it is a game designed with care, style, and universal appeal. I would put it along the same lines of like The Lion King and Aladdin, second tier quality. It's the kind of game that reminds you why 16-bit platformers are still beloved decades later. Capcom's attention to detail, Disney's charm, and a creative costume systems that still feels fresh today combine all these to make the Magic Quest more than just nostalgic memory. Magical Quest is a product of 2 creative titans at the height of their powers. Disney's timeless characters met Capcom's masterful game design, and together they produced something great, even if most look at it as solid at best. It's not the longest, hardest, or most complex game on the Super Nintendo, but it doesn't need to be. For players who grew up with it, the Magical Quest is a warm trip back to childhood. For newcomers, it's a charming introduction to an era when creativity and craftsmanship mattered above all else. For some people, LJN, like I said before. But anyway, 3 decades later, it's still just as good as it was when I was a kid. Thanks for watching. It seems that I'm on a Super Nintendo run because I just don't want to get away from the system. With that being said, I'll be switching it up very soon, possibly do some Sega Genesis games. I'm also thinking about doing another series, or half a series like I did with Mega Man X. Maybe I'll get one of my favorite RPGs in this time around. Whatever it is, I'll make sure that it's fun to watch. And in the meantime, if you like obscure games, you should check out my Ken Satan retrospective. But if you want something more well known, check out A Link to the Past retrospective. I'll see y'all in the next one.